Okay, so I think it's time and we can start. All right. So, hi everyone. Welcome to those who are joining for the first time and those who are regular. Always welcome, welcome. Usually, the topics that I generally talk about in my lives, in my Thursday lives, is related to communication, wellness, and creativity because that's my area of expertise. But something happened recently that really it was like a light bulb moment, and I was like, I have to talk about this. And that's how the topic for today's live was decided, which is the art of consistency and showing up authentically. So that's how I thought that yes, I have to speak about this. Now, I have a confession to begin with. When you talk of envy or feeling envious about someone or something, for me, it's never about, it's never about anything luxurious like the car that person has or the bag that person has or where they're living or the house. For me, to feel envious of someone, it's generally to do with their consistency. When someone's regularly showing up for something, when they're regularly, I don't know, creating something, or they're regularly posting something, at that point, that is something that I used to find quite envious. I was like, how is this person doing it so regularly? Do they not have mood swings? Do they not have these kind of, feelings in their head that come in the way of doing things regularly? And I would often, place them on a pedestal thinking that, you know what, these are special people. They have figured out something that I am yet to figure out. And like they have cracked some kind of secret code that I have no idea and I haven't reached yet. So I used to always keep such people on a pedestal and kind of think that, I'll probably reach there someday. But I used to keep trying as well. I used to, keep making timetables. I would keep trying to follow routines. I would fail. Then I would have the worst self-talk, break it and then berate myself and the whole toxic cycle. And then come to the conclusion that, what, I have a very toxic relationship when it comes to consistency. And this was a very ongoing cycle, plan, make the timetable, fail, then have like a very toxic breakup, and then, come to a conclusion that consistency is just not cut out for me. Until recently, an incident happened, and I was like, okay, it's very interesting that this happened because now it completely makes sense why I don't really see consistency the way I used to see it before, and why I have a healthier relationship with consistency now. So, to begin with this, I would say let's talk about the myth of consistency. Whenever you see someone being very consistent, showing up regularly, maybe, I don't know, running regularly, writing regularly, posting regularly, we always think that they have everything figured out in their life. Like they have no worries, they have no fear, they have no imposter syndrome bothering them, none of that. We tend to think that. But I chanced upon a video from Creative Mornings. Now, Creative Mornings, for those of you who don't know, is basically this international organization. They keep having these meetups in the last every Friday of a month, last Friday of the month. And creators can go there and pitch their ideas or their business or any service they want or collaborations and all that sort. And I saw the best pitch I had seen in the recent times from a girl that I knew. And after you give the pitch, you can also send a message about it in the Creative Mornings group. And her message also, it was so full of energy, so full of, like you could feel that spunk. It was like flying off the screen. You generally come across so many WhatsApp messages and you just ignore them. But this one really stood out. And was she the most successful person? Absolutely no. Because I had met her 2 weeks back and she had confessed to me, and like she was basically discussing with me like how she's going through a bad phase because she has recently had a career pivot and she's moved into the wellness industry. And she was wanting to know from me how to find clients and wanting to collaborate with me because we're in the similar industry and stuff like that. So I knew that she wasn't in the best space, that she, like the one that she wanted to be in. And to add to it, that she, the other things that kind of are a little bothersome, like she's in her late 20s, she still lives with her parents and stuff like that. So basically, not an ideal situation at all. From that to the way she showed up for that Creative Mornings, on stage and also in the WhatsApp group, there's a huge jump. So I was like, wow, if she can feel like that but show up like this, that's, I think, iconically inspirational. And I immediately texted her and I told her, you know what, I saw your pitch, it was fantabulous, and I think you did a great job on stage and also in the WhatsApp message. And then, we just had a nice little chat encouraging each other. So this just goes to show that consistency is not about not struggling ever, but it's about showing up despite your struggles. That incident really solidified that thinking in my head. Now, when we think of consistency, we live in a very outcome driven society, right? Like, have you met your goals? Have you given that presentation? Have you reached that subscriber count? Have you hit the move goal on your Apple Watch? So we live in a very result oriented society, a result oriented mindset. But none of these things, if we actually think about it, are actually in our control. The only thing in our control is you showing up, your presence. That's the only thing in our control. To actually talk about this, hi Ruth, thank you so much for joining. I just finished a bit of the introduction and an example of why I chose the topic that I chose for today. That is the art of consistency and showing up authentically. So I just finished that little bit and I'm moving on to another example as to why your presence is the only thing in your control. Yeah, hi, good morning. So I was talking about why your presence is the only thing you can control. A very good example of this is my running journey. Now, I am, I think, the most non athletic person in my circle. All right. The only thing I can run really well. Hi, Nimita. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. I just started and I just kind of finished the introduction on why I chose the topic that we're discussing today. And I was just moving to another example of why your presence or you showing up is the only thing in your control. And I was trying to talk about my running journey and as to why it's a very apt example for this. So, yeah, coming back to my example, yeah, I'm the most non-athletic person I know. And the only thing I can run really well is my mouth because I've been into public speaking ever since I was in kindergarten. I have never been part of any sports team. I've never played a team sport. I would always sit out the games, lessons and stuff like that because I was always, in debates and dance and speeches and all those things. So that is how I was. And I got introduced to any kind of physical activity very late in life, say probably the age of 27 or something, pretty late in life. And I guess my running journey started even later. So probably around 2011 or something. And my running journey is, I don't know, how do I say? It was a very toxic relationship. I would start with all gusto, like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to run. Okay, why I choose running is because you can do it alone. It's a level up from running. And I do hike also, but in summers, you can't really hike here. So running is the next option. That's the reason I run. And I always used to say that, you know what, I hate running, but I like the feeling after. So it would start the same way. Like, I'd be gung ho that I'm starting. I would try to do a certain distance, a certain pace, not be able to do it, give up, and then never come back to it until the next year. And I would start my running journey every year in the same fashion. It's the same pattern, same fashion, no difference. Repeating patterns every year. Until 2025, restarted my running journey in the month of May. And I'm very happy to report that I've been consistently running since the month of May after umpteen trials of trying to run and get back into the habit and stuff like that, because I this time running was very different. I did not have any pace in mind. I did not have any target in mind. The only thing I had in mind was just showing up, however it is, whether it's a pace of 8, whether it's a pace of 7, whether it's a pace of 6:59, it didn't matter. All I focused was showing up for that run. And I'm happy to report that I just had my fastest 5K yesterday. So it's not that I have been running marathons or I've been running fabulous paces or something, but I have been very consistent and very regular. And that's kind of had a very good, how do I say, a very good feel good factor in my head when it comes to running. And I've been sharing this little tips and tricks, like, on what has been working for my headspace. Thanks, Ruth. What has been working for my headspace? Because I think running, more so than a physical activity for me, it's actually a mind game for me. Because when you actually stay present in the process, you realize that it's not your body, for me at least, it's not my body telling me to stop running. It's my brain telling me to stop running, that, it's uncomfortable, or I'm getting bored, and I want to stop. So it's got nothing to do with my physical health. Like, I recover really well. I run almost every day, but I recover pretty well. So it's got to do with my head. And all these things I could notice only because I was being present in the process. And I was sharing these tips and tricks. Hi, Anjali. Thanks so much for joining. I just finished the introduction about the topic, and I was talking about my running journey and its relationship with consistency, and how showing up is definitely half the job. And I started sharing this running journey on my Instagram, because I wanted to share these little discoveries I'm having. So for me, I'm just showing up. But when I'm sharing about my running journey, it's actually creating a very beautiful ripple effect, which is like an added bonus. Because I think I posted something like, don't listen to your run, just don't listen to your brain, just go for that run. I posted this, and the next day I had a friend who went for a run and tagged me saying that, I listened to what you said, I didn't listen to my brain, and I went for that run. This run is for you. Then another friend who is preparing for his marathon, and who's been down with the knee injuries. Every time I post about my running, he's like, you know what, this is so inspiring. I need to get my ass on the road and start training for my marathon. So the ripple effect is so unknown, and it comes unexpectedly, and it's so beautiful. And all of that is just happening because you show up and you chose to share without any outcome or without any motive in mind. So that's one example where it comes to consistency. This consistency was a little public, right? Like, I was sharing with people, I was sharing it on my Instagram and stuff like that. I have witnessed another kind of consistency, a very quiet consistency. That example is from my life. That is my parents. So, my parents, ever since I could remember, they have had the same time for waking up and for sleeping. So 4:30 every day of their life, they have woken up at 4:30 a.m. They have their ritual, their walking, their meditation, their tea time, their breakfast time. They have a set time for everything. These timings would change, here and there a little bit based on their season of life. But on the bigger picture, they've always had this kind of consistency. And now that they're in their 70s and their 60s, I think that's definitely one of the main reasons that they're still functional, they're still healthy enough, and which is a blessing for everyone around. So that's another example of quiet consistency that I have noticed. It's like they're part of their life. They don't really require any kind of motivation, or they don't really require any kind of sharing for that, but it's just their way of life. Then another example of consistency that I can actually think of is my own Substack. I started my Substack journey back in Feb 2024. The time that I had started my Substack journey was a very rough period in my life. And I basically started writing things that I wished I could read when I was going through a bad time. So I was just basically creating things that I wanted to read at that point in time. That was the intention of my Substack. And my Substack is called Teacups and Tiny Victories, which basically is I just wanted it to feel like, having tea with your friend or having coffee with your friend and celebrating your tiniest of tiny victories. Like, hey, you know what? I didn't overthink today. Or, for example, hey, I went for that run no matter how I was feeling. So I wanted it to be like that little intimate, friendly celebration of the little struggles that we're going in life. That's how the name Teacups and Tiny Victories came into existence. So I wrote for every Monday for the past 1.5, 1 year and 6 months should be. So I wrote every Monday, barring a month in between when I was traveling. And that consistent showing up has led to such a beautiful community that has happened here. Hi, Jimmy. Welcome to the live. We're just kind of midway. We just finished the introduction. but nonetheless, happy to have you here. I'm talking about my Substack and how consistency has helped me build a very beautiful community. I think of all the social media platforms that I have experienced, Substack has definitely been the most wholesome, the most meaningful interactions I've had here in Substack, the people that I've met. Most of you are there in the live also through people whom I've met through my Substack and have shared a very good relationship with. So that is another effect of consistency, like the community that I develop. Like I don't have like thousands and 3,000 and 2,000 followers, but the ones that I have, or the subscribers that I have, or the connections that I've made are definitely the kinds that I would vouch for and they would vouch for me as well. So I think that's another beauty of consistency that I have experienced. And I think if I were to give you some kind of hi, Janki, hi, we're kind of in the mid of it, and we just finished the introduction. I shared some examples of consistency and how and what helps. And actually, you came in at the right time because I'm going to share some. I want to share like 5 actionable tips for you to start and change your journey with consistency, like starting today, and some things that I have experienced. So, the first tip that I would give when it comes to changing your relationship with consistency is to redefine the definition of consistency that you have. You have got to have your own definition of consistency. Consistency never ever means doing something every freaking day. It could be once a week, it could be once a month. It just means no matter what it is, no matter what break you have, you come back to it. You come back to it happy. You come back to it without negative self talk or berating yourself for like having that break in between. I honestly think that's worked wonders for me and my relationship with consistency. So, first is to redefine what consistency looks for you, not for how it looks on social media, not for how it works for someone else, your parents, your friends, or whoever it is. Redefine your definition of consistency. So, that's definitely my first tip, first and foremost tip. The second one that I would say definitely is to start small. Start showing up for yourself. I think when it comes to, for example, you want to write more, right? So start with probably writing 2 lines every day. Or maybe if you want to start creating something small. Start creating like a doodle every day or something. Or, for example, if you want to, I don't know, if you want to start running, start with a kilometer. Whatever it is, start small and start showing up for yourself. Because what happens when you do that is you build that identity that I am someone who shows up. In contrary to the other identity that you had in the past, saying that I have a very toxic relationship with consistency or I don't do well with consistency. So, whatever you say kind of becomes your identity and it also kind of influences your actions. So, if you start doing small things consistently, it kind of compounds over time and that then becomes your identity. So, you then become someone like, oh, I'm someone who shows up for a run no matter how I'm feeling. And then your actions are also going to follow because I'm experiencing it like as I speak. So I go for a run 7:30 in the evening almost every day, barring probably the weekend or something. And I started feeling, oh, if it's past 7:30 or something, I'd be, oh no, should I go for the run? Then I'm like, no, I don't run every day. So I've got to go for that run. So it's that shift in identity that really kind of will push you or will encourage you or give you that kind of push that you need to do whatever you're avoiding to do. Hi, Ella. Thank you so much for joining. We're actually discussing tips to stay consistent. And I just gave away 2 tips and I'm moving on to the third one. So, the third one that I want to talk about is when it comes to consistency, try to build a ritual and not a routine. For the longest time, I have made routines, like timetable, timetable, timetable. I'm the queen of timetables. I can make timetables to no end. Honestly, making a timetable really helps me with my anxiety. I'm like, oh, okay, I've planned for this. So I feel a little, at ease. But the fact of the matter is, a routine is too rigid and it's definitely going to crack. So instead of a routine, try to make a ritual which is going to make it a little more doable. It's going to make it more enjoyable. And when you start enjoying it, the chances of you doing it are definitely more. So I want to share a ritual. So I really want to have a regular practice of journaling for myself, because now I'm teaching illustrated journaling online. I'm teaching creative journaling. So I'm doing a lot of this teaching. So I want to do some journaling just for me, and I want to be regular with it. So what I did was, another thing that I like doing for relaxing or just for myself is getting a nice iced latte. That's my thing. Like, I like going and getting myself a nice cold iced latte. So that's my comfort thing. So I kind of clubbed the two together. And I wanted myself to be more interested in the journal. So I kind of made my own journal as well. So this, even the binding, this is kind of handmade. So this is my own journal that I made. I illustrated it, and I kind of filled it with questions that would be, personal to me. So I have too many journals with me, but the store bought ones are only so much. Like, you'll do it for some time, and then you're like, okay. But then, hi Gunnar, thank you so much for joining. So nice to see you here. I'm almost like towards the end of it. Like, we're just discussing some tips to stay consistent, and I was talking about how to create a ritual rather than a routine when it comes to consistency. So, nonetheless, so I was talking about how I've made my own journal. And now I feel like it's a personal experience for me because I have designed it, I have made it. I'm more likely to be doing it, and it's filled with all my doodles. These are basically my moods. So it feels very personal. And I put in questions in this journal that kind of work for me. So there are certain questions like, what is the sign from universe today? What are you grateful for today? What made you smile? What does your best version look like? What can you do today to reach there? And what's holding you back? And I have these little visual prompts that I put at the end of each page, which kind of, is like a little encouragement for me based on what's happening with me on that particular day. So what I did was I made this into a nice ritual. I'll go to a coffee shop, get myself a nice iced latte. I know, Gunnar, you also write from a coffee shop, right? There's something about a coffee shop and writing and creativity that goes hand in hand, and it really works. So my ritual is also like, I'll go get myself a nice iced latte. I'll take my handmade journal with me, and I'll sit and journal. So basically, now I don't really have to think that I have to make time for it, because I have combined two things that I really like doing together, like go for a nice walk, get myself a nice latte, and then do sit and do my journaling. So the chances of me doing it and finishing it and actually being consistent with it is more enjoyable. It's not like a routine or like a to-do list thing. So I think that also helps when it comes to consistency. The fourth one I would say is have like a gentle accountability. Now, a lot of the times, if you are someone who is like an obliger personality style, people like me who are obligers, it basically means you answer external validation more than intrinsic validation. So for such people, this works like magic. So if you want to share it with, probably on your social media, if you feel that's too big, share it with one friend. So any habit you're trying to build, have like an accountability buddy, or maybe like a smaller setting, or maybe a family member you share with. So when you have that sort of an accountability, that also really helps in keeping yourself in check, having some kind of support, that also definitely helps. For example, I have my illustrated journaling group. So when people do share their spreads in the group, it's also like a little encouragement for others. Oh, yeah, I should also go and make something in my journal. So it's like this little gentle encouragement and a very community like feeling. So I think a little bit of accountability also helps, but this has to be gentle. It shouldn't be like very harsh or very, how do I say, on your head, that it really puts you off in the whole process. So that's my fourth tip. And my fifth tip would be the most important one, to focus on the feeling. Hi, Astrid. We're almost towards the end. I'm discussing tips to stay consistent, and I'm kind of on the last tip. And that's basically to focus on the feeling and not the outcome. Whenever you want to develop consistency with something, try to focus on how it's making you feel. That has really helped me with my running journey. When I run nowadays, I'm not really looking at my watch. I'm not really looking at my pace. I'm not really looking at my distance. I'm actually thinking, how is my body feeling? Like, am I really feeling tired, or am I just feeling bored? I observe my surroundings a little more. I try to observe different types of runners and how they run, because I also come back and sketch about them. So it's a great time for me to spend observing things. Or probably I'm thinking about what should be my next live, topic or something, because these are all things that I can think when I'm running. So try to focus on how you're feeling while doing that particular activity you want to be consistent about, not about the outcome. Because all the outcome that comes, like that subscriber count, the speed, your best run, your distance, all those results or outcomes are basically like the bonus that you get. But the process is something that should be enjoyable for you to sustain that particular activity for a longer period of time. So whenever you feel that I'm not being consistent with something, start asking why. Maybe you're not enjoying the process, and can you find a way to make that process enjoyable? That will make a huge difference in how you show up for that particular activity. So these 5 tips are something that you can start right away. First one has to be redefine your definition of consistency, what consistency looks like for you. The second one would be start small and start showing up for yourself. It could be in any way. It could be either going for a walk every day, or probably having enough water every day, or maybe, going for that run every day. It could be anything, but start small and start showing up so that that becomes your identity, like someone who does this regularly. Once you develop that kind of identity, it'll naturally flow into your actions as well. The third one would be make a nice ritual out of it and not a routine or a timetable, because a ritual is more likable as compared to a routine or a timetable, and also your association with it, how you feel about that particular thing. And the fourth one that I shared was have a nice accountability buddy, a little group, or maybe your social media if you want to do that, and try to share your journey. It might inspire others. You might get these ripple effects that happen, and these nice happy messages which will also keep you going. And definitely the last one, focus on the feeling, not on the outcome. So I hope that all the examples that I shared, all the tips that I shared, will make a little difference in how you think about consistency and how you feel about consistency. And I'm very curious on which of these tips would you try today, starting today, and which activity would you try it with? So definitely let me know in the comments or in the chats that which is that one thing that you would try today, and what is that activity you want to be consistent with, and if any of these tips did help you. So yeah, that should be the end of my discussion and my life. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for giving me your time and attention. And I'll see you next Thursday with another live. And thank you so much for being here. See you. See you next Thursday. Bye.